Happy Friday, everyone. This is Ed from BourbonObsessed.com, also Bourbon_Obsessed on Instagram. Thanks for joining me on my first episode of Bourbon Release News. There have been quite a few new releases over the last 2 weeks, and I just wanted to run through a bunch of them. Maker's Mark has just released this year's version of Cellar Aged. This one's a bit older than last year. It consists of 15% 12-year-old and 85% 13-year-old bourbons, making it the most mature Maker's Mark bourbon ever released. It's bottled at 119.3 proof and is priced at around $175. Just like last year's, this is probably going to be quite a popular one and in short supply. Wild Turkey honored Jimmy Russell's 70th anniversary with the distillery with a celebration, a portrait, and the release of Wild Turkey, Jimmy Russell's 70th anniversary 8-year-old bourbon. Jimmy began working at the distillery, which would eventually become Wild Turkey, when he was 18 years old. And as we all know, he rose up through the ranks to become a master distiller. The bourbon is bottled at 101 proof and the price is $50. It will be available globally as well as at the distillery. Angel's Envy has released a new permanent addition to their lineup. Triple Oak is a blend of bourbons finished in 3 types of barrels sourced globally: Hungarian Oak from Hungary, Chinkapin Oak from Kentucky, and French Oak from France. Bottled at 92 proof, price is around $75. Along similar lines, Bulleit Frontier Whiskey adds 10-year-old rye as a permanent addition to their lineup. It joins the Bulleit 10-year-old bourbon, forming what they now call the Bulleit 10-year aged whiskeys range. It uses the 95.5 mash bill. Similar to the bourbon, it is bottled at 91.2 proof, and its suggested retail price is around $50. This next one from Jack Daniel's has quite the long name. Jack Daniel's Single Barrel Special Release Coy Hill Barrel House 8. It's said to be a complex Tennessee whiskey from barrels matured at the distillery's highest elevations, similar to the other Coy Hill releases. It's bottled at barrel strength with proofs ranging from 122 to 137.5. The MSRP is around $80. I haven't had any luck myself getting prior bottles of Coy Hill, so maybe this time it'll be a little different. Fingers crossed. O.H. Ingram River Aged debuted this year's release of their flagship bourbon at the Kentucky Bourbon Festival this past weekend. It consists of only 6 barrels, aged for 6 years and 6 months. It's bottled at 117.7 proof, and suggested price is about $80. Up to now, Wolves Whiskey only released limited edition whiskeys. However, now they're adding a permanent year-round addition to their line. Wolves American Single Malt is aged for 5 years in California wine barrels and finished in aged cognac casks. It's bottled at 96 proof with a suggested price of around $90. The latest release from Hidden Barn is Hidden Barn Organic Wheated Bourbon. It's crafted by master blender Jackie Zykan and is 6 years old and was distilled at Journeyman Distillery. It's bottled at 106.2 proof with a price of approximately $80. Last but not least, Lawrenceburg Bourbon Company in Lawrenceburg, Kentucky has rebranded as the Larrikin Bourbon Company. Owners Greg and Katie Keeley wanted to get back to their Australian heritage, and thus renaming the distillery was in order. The word larrikin is Australian slang for a person who disregards convention, in other words, a maverick. In addition to the name change, the distillery also launched its first bottled and bond whiskey, an 8-year-old Kentucky straight bourbon, priced at $80. Well, we're pretty much out of time, but there were a few other bourbons which were announced last week. Sable Bourbon, which is from Harold Perrineau, Malcolm D. Lee, Morris Chestnut, and Taye Diggs, who were known for their roles in The Best Man, launched Sable. It's crafted with bespoken spirits, is bottled at 94 proof, with a price of around $60. Redwood Empire Van Dusen Rye Whiskey is the 4th release in Redwood Empire's Small Lot series. It's interesting for a rye as it contains 31% malted barley, which includes 7 different varieties. It's bottled at 94 proof with a price of around $80. Finally, country music star Alan Jackson's Silver Belly Whiskey released their first single barrel offering. It's a 5.5-year-aged Tennessee straight bourbon, bottled at 115 proof with a price of around $66. Well, that's pretty much it for this week. If you would like to read more about some of the whiskeys mentioned, or check out some of our over 300 bourbon reviews and 50 distillery write-ups, head on over to bourbonobsessed.com. Thanks for joining me on my inaugural episode of Bourbon Release News. Please let me know what you think. Have a great weekend. Cheers!